Hi everyone, welcome to EduTap. I'm Tanushree. So students, if you have clicked on this video, then I'm expecting that you are someone who has started preparing for NABARD Grade A 2025 or 2026. But one thing for sure, that you are new to this journey, but you need not worry. As the quote says, every master was once a beginner. You have clicked on the right video, that is for sure. Why? Because after watching this video, the amount of knowledge and the amount of insights you are going to get, you will no longer call yourself a beginner. So let's get started with our today's video, wherein I'm going to share each and every detail of the exam, the pattern, and also the strategy you need to have to crack this exam, right? So let's get started. First of all, okay, so before I begin this video, a very important information, because in today's video I'm going to share a lot of important information with you, and because of that you all will require the PDF of this session. So if you want the PDF, you can join our Telegram channel, and from there you can have the PDF of this session. So let's get started. First of all, the first question which comes in any person's mind is, what is the job profile we get by getting selected in NABARD Grade A? So NABARD Grade A basically means assistant manager in the NABARD organization, and this organization, it basically works for the refinance activities. So here you don't have to deal directly with the customers, but you are going to deal with the banks, right? Your clients will be the banks, the state governments. So you are basically going to work for the refinance activities, the developmental activities in the field of rural development. So this is just a very small idea, a very small clue about what the job is going to be like. If you want a detailed analysis, then there are separate videos on our channel regarding that as well. You can watch that. But for the time being, remember that this is a very good position, assistant manager in NABARD. Now, the next question which comes in any person's mind is that, is the notification released every year? So student, let me very honestly tell you that NABARD don't have any calendar per se which says that when is this notification going to come. But the trend that we have seen, it suggests that this notification does get released every year. ठीक है, हर साल इसकी notification जो है वो release होती है, vacancies जो हैं वो आती हैं. So you need not worry about the notification. Notification किस month में आएगी, that is something we are not very sure about. But yes, the notification is going to come for sure, right? So that is one thing I can assure you. Now you might be thinking, ma'am, but this becomes a very tense situation. We don't even know when the notification is going to come. But here I would like to say that this is something you have to use for your benefit, for your for your benefit. Why I'm saying so? Because a lot of the students, they are going to delay their preparation just because in the anticipation of the notification. When will the notification come? We will start the preparation once the notification come. But the amount of time you are going to waste till the notification comes, that is something you'll not be able to cope up once the notification comes, because the time period between the notification and phase 1 and phase 2, it is not very much, right? But the syllabus, it is humongous. So it is better you start preparing for this exam from now onwards as early as you can. Don't wait for the notification to be released, because the trend that we have seen since last few years is that this notification, this exam, it gets released every single year, right? So that was the second point. Now, let me tell you all about NABARD Grade A exam. ये एग्जाम क्या होगा, किन किन फेसेस में होगा, चलिए हम वो देख लेते हैं. So first of all, the notification will be released. Most probably, the notification, it gets released in the month of July or August, right? So July, August is the time when the notification for NABARD gets released. Then after notification, phase 1 exam will happen. Around 40 to 45 days after the notification, the exam happens, right? This year, surprisingly, in 2024, the time between notification and phase 1 was just 30 days. ठीक है, नोटिफिकेशन 1 अगस्त को आया था और फेज 1 का एग्जाम 1 सितंबर को था. तो ये एक ट्रेंड होगा, ये अभी नहीं कहा जा सकता. दिस वाज जस्ट वन इंस्टेंस जब ऐसा हुआ था कि नोटिफिकेशन और फेज 1 के बीच में केवल 30 डेज का टाइम था, राइट? बट यूजुअली अराउंड 40 to 45 डेज आर देयर इन बिटवीन नोटिफिकेशन एंड फेज 1. Once you clear the phase 1, then phase 2 happens. One more thing, the phase 1 marks, they are not counted in the final merit list, right? So phase 1 is just qualification qualifying in nature, the marks of phase 1 will not be counted in the final merit list. Then the phase 2 exam happens and the marks of phase 2 will be counted in the merit list. In the final merit list, phase 2 marks will be counted, and this phase 2, it happens 25 to 30 days after phase 1, right? So that is the pattern, and after phase 2 we are going to have phase 3, which is the interview, and interview marks will also be counted in the final merit list. So the final merit list, it contains of marks from phase 2 and phase 3. Okay, chaliye. Now let me tell you what is going to be the pattern of phase 1. ठीक है, phase 1 का pattern क्या होगा, कौन-कौन से sections होंगे. So basically students, in the phase 1 examination, the paper it is going to in the paper you are going to see that 200 questions worth 200 marks. This is going to be the pattern, number of questions and number of marks. But the merit list of phase 1, it is calculated out of 100 marks only, right? Now how it is done? Basically in this paper, in phase 1, there are going to be two sections, the qualifying section and the merit section. Qualifying section contains of 5 areas, which includes reasoning, English, computer, quantitative aptitude and decision making. These are the 5 areas which constitute your non-merit or the qualifying section. In this section, you only have to clear the sectional cutoff. The marks of these 5 areas, they will not be counted in the merit list of phase 1, right? So that is what you have to keep in mind. A very important point, that these are just qualifying subjects. You just have to clear the sectional cutoff here. The marks of all these subjects will not be counted for calculating your phase 1 merit, right? Now after this we have 3 more sections. General awareness worth 20 marks. ESI worth 40 marks and ARD worth 40 marks. These 3 components, GA, ESI and ARD, they constitute your merit section, and these 3 components, they will determine the merit list or the cutoff for the phase 1. So for these subjects, you have to clear the sectional cutoff as well as the overall cutoff also, right? So I hope with this, the pattern of phase 1 is completely clear to you. Now, coming to the phase 2, in phase 2 you are going to have 2 papers. Paper 1, it is General English, which is going to be an online descriptive paper, 90 minutes and 100 marks. Okay? Phase 2 overall is of 200 marks. Paper 1 of 100 marks and paper 2 of 100 marks. Paper 1, General English, descriptive English paper, right? And paper 2, it is going to be of ESI and ARD. In this paper, basically students, it is of 100 marks. 50 marks worth of paper will be objective in nature and 50 marks worth of paper will be descriptive in nature, right? So this is the second thing which you have to keep in mind. So this is the pattern. I'll discuss each and every component in a depth in the coming slides. So just be patient. Okay, this is something we have seen, right? Now, the question arises, first of all, we are going to see everything about phase 1. So, is phase 1 really difficult, right? So, let us get an idea about phase 1 by having a look at the previous year cutoffs, right? So, if you can see here, students, in the phase 1, first of all, let's deal with the qualifying section, the non-merit section. How much you have to study the quant, reasoning, English, because quant is something which is a nightmare for most of the students. So let us have a look what level of quant or what level of reasoning you have to prepare and how you are going to prepare them. So first of all, if you ask me, students, then in the reasoning, the sectional cutoff has hardly gone above 3.75 in the last 3 years. 2024 marks have not been released yet. They'll be released after the final merit list, right? So as of now, the data that we have, the reasoning cutoff, it has never gone above the 3.75 marks. In 2018 it was 4.5 marks, but basically it revolves around 3 to 4 marks only, right, out of 20. Similarly, for English, out of 30, the cutoff, it hovers around 12 marks, 13.25 marks. So that is the cutoff. Agar paper very difficult or the level of paper, it is on the tougher side, then the cutoff is lower. But if it is easy, then it can go higher up till 13.25 marks also. But again, this is the cutoff for the English part, right? Now, see students, there is a difference in the pattern here because before 2021, the descriptive part was not there. So English paper was of used to be of 40 marks, right? So please be aware of that. Now, In computer knowledge, if we talk about the cutoff, it has been around 2.75 marks, 5.5 or 3.25 out of 20. Coming to the quants part, the cutoff, it has been 5 marks, 3 marks or 3 marks out of 20, right? So last 3 years if we analyze. Again, in decision making, the cutoff was 1.5, 1.5 and 1.25 out of 10 marks. Now students, as we know that in these sections, we only have to clear the sectional cutoff, right? So here our target is not to solve all these questions, right? We don't have to score 20 out of 20 in quant or reasoning. We just have to clear the sectional cutoff. And here I introduce you to a very important thing which you have to keep in mind while preparing for phase 1. It is the target score. Okay? Now, what is this target score? Target score is that in each of these subjects. Please do not prepare these subjects entirely. Don't prepare a lot of topics. Prepare few topics on the basis of previous year trends, previous year cutoffs, but prepare those topics well. Have a target score in mind, the amount of marks you want to score in these subjects, so that you can sail through the sectional cutoff easily and then prepare accordingly, right? You don't have to score 20 out of 20. That should not be your target. In reasoning, your target should be solving 5 to 6 questions correctly. Okay, 5 to 6 questions correctly. Then in English, your target score is around 13 to 15 marks. If you are scoring around 13 to 15 marks in English, you are easily going to sail through this. In computer knowledge, your target score, it is around 7 to 8 marks, right? In quants, your target score is around not 5 to 6 will be less, 7 to 8 marks. Right? Similarly, in decision making, your target score should be around 3 to 4 marks. In ESI, right? So, target score is something which will be merit section, right? The merit section, it is not going to have the concept of target score. Why? Because simply by clearing these sectional cutoffs, you are not going to clear the overall cutoff, right? So here, the concept of target score does not work. In merit section, there is no concept of target score. You have to score the maximum you can so that you can clear the overall cutoff, right? So the target score concept, I think, is completely understood to you, and this is how you have to prepare for your qualifying section. Now let us discuss each of the components one by one, but before I proceed to that, there are 3 things you have to keep in mind to excel in this exam. The first thing is the clarity. Why I am saying so? Because most of the people, they prepare for NABARD as keeping NABARD as a secondary paper. NABARD is not their primary target, it is their secondary target. Trust me students, such philosophy or such a scheme, such a approach towards this exam might not work, because this exam required dedicated preparation. So you have to dedicatedly prepare for this exam. You have to have this clarity of why at all you want to prepare for this exam, and then only you should approach it, right? Now coming to the second part which you need to have before you start preparing for this exam, it is the syllabus, detailed syllabus of each and everything. And the third thing which you need to have, it is the PYQ, the previous year questions, right? How they are going to be helpful, how we are going to utilize them. Let us see that in the coming slides. Now, first of all, we are going to see the qualifying subjects. What is the syllabus and how you are going to prepare for it. So students, in the notification, if you see the syllabus for the phase 1 and especially the qualifying subject, it has not been provided us in any detailed manner, right? Just the terms have been mentioned and no syllabus as such has been provided to us. But here we are providing you the decoded syllabus. How we have got this syllabus? By looking at the previous year question papers, we have come out with this syllabus, and these are the topics you have to prepare for the phase 1 qualifying subjects. I'm not going to tell each of those topics. You can simply get the screenshot, pause this video, and then you can see what are the topics. But this is the syllabus you have to prepare as far as your qualifying subjects are concerned. Now, we have seen the cutoff, we have seen the target score, right? Now, how we have to prepare for these qualifying subjects. So, I have already been through this slide. So, first of all, you need to have the target score. We have already decided that. Now, what we have to do? See, Here are the sources, how you have to utilize these books. So for the quant, you can refer to this book Quantitative Aptitude by Dr. R.S. Agarwal. The quant, reasoning and English which are asked in the NABARD examination, they are not as tough as it is asked in the RBI exam. It is a level down as compared to the RBI exam. So these books, they will suffice. So you have to prepare for the quantitative aptitude, verbal and non-verbal reasoning by Dr. R.S. Agarwal, and the objective general English by Arihant. So these are the books you have to refer for the quant, reasoning and English. And for computer and decision making, for computer, you can refer either the book by Arihant or the Lucent's computer knowledge book. Any of them will work fine. Then coming to the management, not the management, basically the decision making. In the decision making syllabus, most of the topics, they are from the management part only. So you can refer to the Principles and Practices of Management by T.N. Chabda and Principles and Practices of Management by L.M. Prasad. But now comes the very important part, which do you have to read these books from cover to cover? Do you have to read each and every topic mentioned here? No. So here comes in picture the most important things which I have mentioned previously also, the syllabus and the previous year questions. I have provided you with the syllabus, and similarly you can get the previous year questions of NABARD also by visiting our website. There the previous year questions are available, so you can have access to them. So have the previous year questions and the syllabus with yourself. Then as per the target score, select the topics which you are going to prepare. If you see, then if you see the previous year questions, you'll be able to decide the most important topics, right? So what you have to do is have the list of the most important topics, have your target score decided, and then prepare those topics really well. You have to master those topics, only then you will be able to clear the sectional cutoff. So don't go and cover a lot of topics, but whatever topics you are covering, cover them in a good enough manner, right? So that is going to be the first step of your strategy, that is to pinpoint the topics which you are going to prepare. So for example, if I talk about the quant, so in quant, data interpretation, quadratic equation, number series, number systems, ages, partnerships, interest. So these are some of the very important topic as far as the quant is concerned, right? Similarly, for the reasoning, syllogism, coding, decoding, puzzles, sitting arrangement, right? Direction sense, all blood relations. These are some of the very important topics as far as the reasoning is concerned, right? So you have to pinpoint these topics, prepare these topics really well, and as per the target score, so that you are able to clear the sectional cutoff really well. And then you have to do is to understand the concept. Once you have pinpointed on your topics, then start learning the concept. Learn the concepts in a bit more depth. Why I'm saying so? Because every year the NABARD has this tendency of asking the questions a notch higher. ठीक है, अगर इस साल एक basic level का question आया, तो maybe in the next year they can ask an advanced level question. So prepare a notch higher. Whatever topics you are preparing, prepare them a notch higher, right? The third thing then you have to do is to do a lot of practice. Use your PYQs, use the test series, and practice a lot, right? So that is how you have to prepare your qualifying subjects: quant, reasoning, English, computer, and decision making. I hope with this I'm clear. So we have discussed the strategy, the pattern, and everything for these 5 subjects. Now let us move to the next and a very important topic, very important component, which is the general awareness. Now students, before I move ahead, let me tell you that in the phase 1 GA, it is going to be of 20 marks, 20 questions are going to be there, and it is going to be of 20 marks. And here in GA, you are going to see 2 types of questions. The static questions amounting from 3 to 5 marks, and the current affair based GA 17 to 15 marks. But students, before I proceed further, there is one reality of GA I would like to tell you, especially after 2024. GA section is something which is really tough. Now, what makes this section tough and why it was tough in the 2024 exam, and what are the learnings you can have from this exam, right? See, this was the distribution of the topics if I talk about the 2024 exams and the previous years also. So earlier, most of the questions, they used to be from the general awareness section. But in 2024, From 14, the number of general awareness question has been reduced to 6. Now, if the number of general awareness questions have been reduced, what kind of questions are being asked more? It is the finance part. Generally, we used to suggest that to the NABARD students, we used to suggest that don't refer to the finance current affairs or the finance section per se, because NABARD hardly asks any finance related question. But this year, it was a shock to the students also and to us as the faculties also, that there were around 7 questions from the finance part, and these were not some random and very easy finance questions. No, they were not. I'm going to show you the questions also, but this was a change here, right? Is this a trend? It is very difficult for me to say, because this is the first time we are seeing it, and we have to see it in the coming years also, whether they give the finance current affairs on a regular basis or not. But for the time being, this was a shock this year, and this was one thing which made the GA section of 2024 really tough, right? Now, if we see, other patterns were there and they were on the fairly similar lines. Now, let us see what were the kind of questions which made this paper so tough, and which have always made this paper so tough. Why GA is so difficult in the NABARD, right? So these were the questions from the finance part. So the first question says the performance of the mutual fund is denoted by the NVA, and this is disclosed on what basis? A static question from the finance part. Which of the following beta version of the rolling statement cycle system in capital market system was introduced in March 2024? What is the minimum net owned fund required for the consideration to grant for single branch full-fledged money changer? Certificate of deposit, right? So these were the questions which were asked in the GA part of 2024. From the finance current affairs also, and from the static part also. Again, as I have said you, I don't know whether this is going to be the trend in the next years also, but for the time being, it is our responsibility to prepare for the finance static part also and the finance current affairs also. What areas you need to cover as far as the finance static part is covered? So basically the primary and secondary market, bond market, debt market, the forex market, the regulatory bodies, RBI and the other regulatory bodies. So these are some of the topics you really need to have a good grasp on if you want to master the finance static part for the NABARD examination. Also start reading the finance current affairs. Finance current affairs was something which was recommended to the RBI students only, but now we are recommending the finance current affairs to the NABARD students also, because of the trend, because of the questions we saw this year. Right, so this was the one element what made this exam so tough, what made the GA section so tough basically. Now let us move towards the another part, right? So here I have shown you so many different components which constitute the GA part. We have seen this component, why this was so tough. Let us see the other components also, what was so tough in them. So now coming to the next part, which was the general awareness part, right? So in the general awareness, we basically expect them to give the sports question or basic one-liner kind of question. Yes, the question were one-liner, but they were not something, very directly covered in the newspaper, right? So for example, there was this question on Hindon Air Force Station. This was in news because Sheikh Hasina landed on this airport, but the kind of question they have asked, it was not something as easy as where this was located or something like that. No, it was something is one of the biggest and the largest airbase and holds the dash position globally. Now this is not a very conventional question which used to be asked previously in the NABARD paper, but this was again like this is just an example I am giving you that how the paper it is becoming more and more unconventional. Coming to the third part, which was the agriculture related questions, the agriculture related general awareness questions, which are sometimes asked in the GA section also. So if you see this Indian Agriculture Research Institute report, right? So they have asked some high yielding wheat seed, what is the name of this variant? Now if you ask me from where this question was taken, so it was taken from the IARI's annual report, right? In the IARI annual report, 10 or 15 such varieties have been mentioned and they have asked question on one such variety. Now students, covering such questions, it is next to impossible. We just cannot read, the annual reports of each and every organization, and in how much depth are you going to read that? Because out of so many varieties, they have asked on one, right? How many varieties are you going to read? How many varieties are you going to remember? This is going to be a tough task, and the cost to benefit ratio, it is nil. Today, if you read the report of IARI, the annual report of IARI, tomorrow they might ask some other institute's annual report, right? So this is something, this exercise has very low cost to benefit ratio, but again, questions like this make the GA section really, really tough. Now, the next component from which the questions are asked in the GA section, it is the schemes. Let us see the kind of questions which were asked under the scheme section. Under the Saral Suraksha Bima Yojana launched by EDI, who among the following are covered under the definition of family? Now, this is again not a very mainstream scheme, right? So the scheme, it is launched not by NABARD but EDI, and they have asked about the definition of the family. Again, not a very superficial or a question which was asked from the top layer, but they have asked a in-depth question from the scheme, right? And the scheme again is not something very conventional or NABARD's scheme, but a scheme launched by some regulatory body, something which is not very, which was not there in news also. So again, a very unconventional question. If we come to the third part, in April 24, Government of India released the CDP Suraksha under the Cluster Development Scheme. Which of the following are the objectives or features of the CDP? Yes, this scheme was in the news. But again, if we see the coverage of this scheme in the newspaper, it was not very huge. It was a very small scheme, very unconventional, and not something directly related to our syllabus. But again, they have asked question from this. So all these questions, the kind of questions they have asked, they make this paper really, really tough. So students, if you ask me, GA section is something which is very tough as far as the merit section is concerned, right? What makes this tough, I have already discussed with you. The kind of unconventional questions which are being asked. And why I am calling them unconventional? Because one, the trend has been reversed. And secondly, the sources from which they are asking, they are not very conventional, not very direct sources which we usually use to refer. Now, but still, what you have to cover, what you have to read as far as this GA is concerned is something I'm going to tell you now. After this, I'm going to tell you the strategy for GA as well. See students, these are the topics. You can get the PDF and from there you can refer to these topics. But in addition to these topics, add one more very special topic, which is the finance. As I have already told you that finance current affairs is something which you have to cover from now onwards as far as the NABARD Grade A examination is concerned. Both finance static part and the finance current affairs part, right? Now, as far as the current GA is concerned, so basically in the GA, they ask questions from the ESI and ARD also. So the ESI and ARD current affairs are something which you have to cover in the GA part as well. The current affairs of the GA will include the current affairs of ARD and ESI also, right? Now, how many months of current affairs to read? Again, a very important question and a question which is often being asked. So you have to read the current affairs 6 months before the exam. So if the exam is in the month of August, then you have to cover the current affairs from the month of March onwards, right? Month of March till 1 week before the exam date. So that is the amount of current affairs you have to read 6 months before the exam. Now, what are going to be the sources? Now, before I tell you the sources, students, the first thing I would like to tell you that as far as the GA section is concerned, please have very, very low expectations from this section, right? Please do not think that you will be able to score some 15 marks or 12 marks out of 20 from the GA section, because I have shown you the kind of questions they are asking. This section, it is going to be really, really tough. Now, how this low expectation is going to help you? See students, this year also a lot of students who were well prepared, they were not able to perform really good in their exam because of the GA section. The moment they saw those questions, they fumbled, right? They become nervous, and this nervousness and the impact, the psychological impact of this got reflected in their ARD and ESI performance also, right? It affected their ESI and ARD marks, right? So that is why I'm telling you that please have low expectation. I'm not telling you that don't prepare this subject. Please do prepare it, but have low expectation that despite preparing really well, you might not score that well as far as the GA section is concerned. Now let me tell you the sources from which you have to cover the GA. So the sources include the Hindu newspaper, PIB is a very important source, Live Mint and the Economic Times. These are some of the standard sources, the newspaper and PIB, right? If the question, like if you see any scheme here, if you see any report here, if you see any news from the topics which I have told you here, so you have to cover those topics from these sources. But again, as I have told you, please have a low expectation, because sometimes the questions, they are being asked from the unconventional sources also, and you just cannot run behind each and every source out there. So please limit your sources, do them well, and keep your expectations low as far as the GA is concerned, and do cover the finance static part and the finance current affairs part. So that was about the GA part. Now we have covered these 5 topics and also the general awareness part. Let us discuss about the ESI and the ARD part, right? What you have to cover, how you have to cover. Let us discuss each and everything as far as the GA is concerned. Now students, first of all, if you are preparing for the NABARD, you must be knowing that the ESI and ARD, it is one component which is asked in the phase 1 also and phase 2 also, right? So you have to do the integrated preparation for both the phase 1 and phase 2. Because in what is the difference? Because in the phase 1, they are going to ask you the objective ESI and ARD. In the phase 2, out of the 100 marks, 50 marks is again objective ESI and ARD only, and the only 50 marks worth of ESI and ARD, it is going to be descriptive in nature, right? So you have to do the integrated preparation for both the phase 1 and phase 2 as far as the ESI and ARD are concerned. Now, how you are going to do this? So first thing, the syllabus. We are going to discuss the ARD section first. So here is the syllabus. Pause this video, you can have a look, download the PDF of this session, and then again you can have a look. So this is the syllabus as far as the ARD is concerned, right? A huge syllabus. Now, how you have to prepare. Now, before I tell you how you have to prepare, first of all, let us have a look what all you have to prepare. What is going to be the weightage of the static part and the current affairs part as far as the ARD is concerned. Now, if I talk about that, the static part in phase 1, out of 40 questions, around 30 questions are from the static part and around 10 questions are from the current affairs part. So, the weightage of static, it is more in the phase 1. Now, if I talk about the phase 2 objective part, in the phase 2 objective part, however, it is not always going to be the case that static is going to dominate. For example, in 2024, out of 15 questions of ARD, 8 to 9 questions were from current affairs, right? So a small portion was from the static part, but most of the questions in the phase 2 objective part, they were from the current affairs part. But if we see the phase 1, then here the static part is clearly dominating. So one takeaway is that you have to prepare both the static and the current affairs of the agriculture really well. Now, moving ahead. Which chapters are? So first of all, we are going to discuss about the static part. So which chapters are the most important for the objective part? How I have decided that those chapters are the most important? Because here is the distribution. These are the topics. अगर हम मोटे-मोटे देखें तो ये हमारे chapters निकल कर आते हैं ARD की अगर हम बात करें तो, और अगर हम questions को देखते हैं, the number of questions which are being asked from these topics, then upon analyzing this table, we have come to this conclusion that these 9 chapters, these are the most important chapters as far as the ARD is concerned, right? So agronomy, soil and water conservation, farming system, irrigation, fisheries, animal husbandry and poultry, plantation and horticulture, agriculture extension and forestry. These are the most important 9 topics as far as the agriculture static part is concerned. Right? So you have to prepare them. Now let me tell you to what depth you have to prepare them. ठीक है? किस तरीके के questions हमसे पूछे जा रहे हैं? हमने syllabus देख लिया, important questions देख लिया, अब हम PYQs भी देख लेते हैं. So if you can see, they are asking you the questions related to the terms. Term for the castrated female pig. What is the term for the stage of erosion when it becomes exhaustive, leading to the formation of finger-like projections? extension teaching methods, right? Tag color for the certified seeds, right? So basically, students, in the NABARD ARD part, factual questions are being asked, right? So you have to do two things. Conceptual understanding has to be there. If you are not from the agriculture background, then it becomes more important for you. Plus, at the same time, you have to do a lot of rote learning as well. Rote learning of the terms, rote learning of the data. So that is what, these are the things you have to prepare as far as your ARD static part is concerned. Now, coming to the second thing, which is the current affairs. How you have to prepare the current affairs as far as the ARD part is concerned, right? So in the agriculture part, the current affairs, it is further divided into three areas: the government schemes related to the ARD, the reports and indices related to the ARD, and the current affairs, the general current affairs related to the ARD. Now, moving ahead, how you have to cover the government schemes. Now, coming to the government schemes, the questions which are being asked in the agriculture part, the government schemes which are asked in the agriculture part, they are basically from the flagship ministries which are directly related to our syllabus. For example, the Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Rural Development, Ministry of Family and Child Welfare, right? So these are the topics which are directly related to our syllabus. So these ministries, they become really, really important for covering the government schemes. You should be aware, and not just on a very superficial level, but you should be aware of the schemes from these ministries to a in-depth level. If you are studying the NREGA scheme, you have to study it in a really in-depth manner, right? The flagship schemes have to be studied really, really well, and the new schemes, if these ministries, they launch any new schemes, then you have to do that. So these are the government schemes which you have to cover, because if you see the questions, right? So you can see the scheme that has been launched as an intervention to protect the growers of fruits and vegetables from making distress seed, right? The second question, it was about the portal which was related, right? It was basically asking about some portal, which of the following portals. So here they have given a lot of options, and they have given the definition of the portal over here. And third, if you see, they have asked about the NREGA scheme, right? So students, these are the questions, and that is how you have to prepare as far as the agriculture schemes part is concerned, right? Now coming to the reports, right? How you have to cover the reports part. First of all, let me tell you the sources you have to refer, the kind of reports you have to read. So basically, the NABARD annual report, very, very important in 2024. Around 3 to 4 questions were asked directly from this report. Then Ministry of Agriculture's annual report, Ministry of Animal Husbandry's annual report, Ministry of Fisheries annual report. So these annual reports, they become very, very important. Agriculture census, latest agriculture census, handloom census, livestock census, census of 2011 and SSS 2011. These are some of the most important sources which you have to read as far as the reports for the ARD current affairs is concerned, right? Because here are the questions. You can see that ARD report questions are also being asked, and upon analyzing these questions, these are the sources from which the reports needs to be covered. Now, coming to the next part, which is how to cover the ARD static, the sources for the ARD static. First of all, you have to refer the books. The books you can refer either the book by the Arun Katyan, The Fundamentals of Agriculture by Arun Katyan, or the book by the Nemraj Sunda. You can refer any of these books. Apart from that, what you have to read the e-course website of the ICAR. ICAR's e-course website you can refer, and the Tamil Nadu Agriculture University's website is something you can refer as far as the ARD static part is concerned. Now, moving ahead, how you have to cover the ARD current affairs. Although I have already told you that you have to read the reports and the schemes of what ministries, but the general current affairs of the agriculture, from where you are going to read that, then Krishi Jagran, it is a very good source. Hindu Business Line, you have to read. Then these ministry websites are something you can refer to for the annual reports, right? So that is how you have to cover as far as the ARD related current affairs is concerned. Now, moving ahead, let's move to the next component, which is the ESI. How you have to cover the ESI? So first of all, here is the syllabus. The syllabus, it includes both the economics part and the social issues part. Now, coming to the, again, a very important topic, what is actually being asked in the ESI paper? Then let me tell you that both in the phase 1 and the phase 2, it is the current affairs which is dominating. In the phase 1, hardly 5 questions or 3 questions get asked as far as the static part is concerned, but otherwise the major portion of it is being asked from the current affairs only. So for the ESI, you majorly have to prepare the current affairs. But does that mean that we can compromise on the static part? No, you cannot compromise on the static part. Why? Why we cannot compromise? Because see, the static part will help you, one, in understanding the current affairs. You will not be able to understand the economic terms which occur in the newspaper or the finance related current affairs if you do not have the good knowledge of the economics. So you have to cover the static part to have a good knowledge of the current affairs, to understand the current affairs really well. And the second thing is to answer the descriptive questions. The descriptive questions which are being asked in the phase 2, they do require a good knowledge of the static part, the ESI static part, right? So I hope this much is clear to you. Now moving ahead, what are the most important topics as far as the static part is concerned? So here is the list of the most important topics: inflation, balance of payment, monetary policy, fiscal policy, growth and development, banking institutions, national and international. So these are the most important topics as far as the ESI static part is concerned. Now let us move towards a very important component, and not just a very, but the most important component of the ESI, which is the current affairs. Again, the current affairs basically can be divided into 3 parts: the government schemes, reports, and the general ESI related current affairs. Now, how you have to cover them? So first of all, if I talk about the reports, so what reports actually are being asked? So if you have a look at all these questions, right, the economic survey, financial stability report, and the global food security index, then the reports, they are majorly asked from the important the reports which are being released by important national and international bodies. So if Niti Aayog releases any report, if RBI releases any report, right, if NABARD releases any report, right, and if any other international organization, IMF, World Bank, if they release any important report, then that becomes important, right? Then what you have to cover from these reports, right? So I have told you that you have to cover the reports, but what actually you have to read? So you have to read the major findings. If there were any major findings, if they have given any sort of ranking, then that you have to read, right? Head of the committee, who was heading that committee which prepared the report, and these are the things. You also have to read about the organization which have released that report. Then the rank of India, or the top 3 rankers, the bottom 3 rankers, that is what you have to read, right? And then the parameters for deciding the ranks, right? What were the parameters? So if multi-dimensional poverty index is being constructed, then what are the parameters they have utilized to construct that index, right? So these are the kind of things you have to cover as far as your reports are concerned. Now moving ahead, coming to the government schemes. Government schemes are very, very important as far as your ESI part is concerned. From the phase 1 perspective and from the phase 2 perspective also, government schemes are something which are going to dominate the scenario. Now, what you have to cover and how you have to cover. See, you have to, because of course, the government schemes, they'll be released by some or the other ministry or the organization. How we are going to see if a particular scheme is important or not? If it is directly related to a syllabus topic of yours, it becomes important. So if they are asking, like if any scheme has been released related to the women, to the tribal affairs, to the related to the children, urbanization, right? If it is related to some agriculture related part. So all these schemes, they become important because they are directly related to our syllabus, right? So syllabus here becomes your guiding light as far as pinpointing the schemes are concerned, right? उसके बाद में आता है कि what you have to cover in these schemes, right? So first of all, you should be knowing the ministry, launch year, funding, budgetary allocation, objectives, targeted beneficiaries, and the current development, right? Sometimes the schemes which have been launched, right, 5 years back, 6 years back, they are also being asked in the in the current affairs. So the question arises, do we have to cover the schemes by going so back? No, you don't have to go and study the schemes like 5 years back or 6 years back. But students, remember that although that scheme might have been released 5 to 6 years back, but some recent development must have happened, and that is why it is in the news, right? So this is one thing which you have to keep in mind, that if any new development or any new change has happened in any scheme, any old flagship scheme, then that also becomes very, very important. And students, one thing, a changing pattern has been seen as far as the scheme is concerned, and that is that now the questions are being asked in a depth. Okay? Only such superficial things like the ministry or the launch year, they are not limiting themselves to these points only. They are asking the questions in a lot of depth. So please read each and every detail of that scheme in a good enough manner, right? So be it the budgetary allocation, be it the beneficiaries, the time period, each and everything should be covered, should be clear to you, right? Now, coming to the next part, the ESI in news. What is this ESI in news? ESI in news basically means, for example, if any international organization, if they have given any growth forecast for the GDP, if they have given any inflation related forecast, so the inflation, GDP, these are all the topics which are related to our syllabus, the economic syllabus. If anything related, if any current affairs, if any current happening related to these topics happen, then that is something you have to prepare for the ESI in the news part, right? So that was about it. Now, coming to the sources which you have to refer as far as your ESI static part is concerned. So you have to refer to the Indian Economy by Ramesh Singh. It is very, very good book as far as the economics part of the ESI static is concerned. And coming to the social issues part, you have to read this book, Social Problems in India by Ram Ahuja. Again, you don't have to read these books cover to cover, refer to the syllabus and the previous year questions to pinpoint on the topics you have to read and to what depth you have to read, right? Now, coming to the next part, which is the ESI current affairs by God's grace. अभी तक जो भी NABARD ने क्वेश्चंस पूछे हैं ESI करंट अफेयर्स के अंदर, वो काफी ज्यादा सिंक में रहे हैं, ठीक है? जो हमारे कन्वेंशनल सोर्सेज होते हैं उन्हीं से पूछे जाते हैं, ज्यादा से ज्यादा वो उसकी थोड़ी डेप्थ को इंक्रीज कर देते हैं, बट दे आर स्टिकिंग टू दी कन्वेंशनल सोर्सेज ओनली, नॉट बीइंग वेरी अनकन्वेंशनल एज वी हैव सीन इन द GA पार्ट. So by good fortune, this is the trend as of now. Cannot say what they are going to do next year. So what are the sources? So the Hindu newspaper, any newspaper, PIB is still one of the most relevant, one of the most credible source as far as the schemes and the reports are concerned. Then Vikaspedia, if you like in the PIB, if they have mentioned any scheme, any previous flagship scheme, then please do go to the Vikaspedia to read more about that scheme, to read that scheme in an in-depth manner. Then you have to read the Economic Time newspaper for the for the economic related current affairs. So that is how you have to prepare the current affairs as far as the ESI is concerned. Now, moving ahead, we have in the phase 2, we have seen how you have to prepare the ESI ARD objective part, right? So up till now, we have seen the integrated preparation of the ESI and ARD for both the phase 1 and phase 2. But as far as the phase 2 is concerned, ESI and ARD objective are not the only components, but you have to prepare for the descriptive English and the descriptive writing of ESI and ARD as well. Right? How you are going to prepare for them? Let me tell you. So first of all, let's have a look at the kind of questions which are being asked. So if you see in the ARD descriptive, they are asking the questions from what is social forestry, the objectives of social forestry, various facets of the social forestry, and economic benefits. Second question, if we see objectives of the National Rural Livelihood Mission, PDS scheme, the public distribution system, and the certain lacunae in it. objectives of the Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana, right? So basically, if you see the questions, they are either related to your static syllabus or to the schemes which you have read, right? So the ARD related current affairs or the ARD related static part. Here, all that you have to do is to be a bit more analytical in preparing the topics you have been preparing for the current affairs part. So already in the current affairs, you have prepared a lot of things. You have prepared your static part really well. You just have to be a little bit more analytical. For example, if you have read about the social forestry or the agroforestry in the forestry chapter of ARD static, now you have to read its benefits, the challenges, the initiatives, each and everything. So that is how you have to prepare your descriptive part as far as the ARD is concerned, right? Now, similarly, if you see in the ESI descriptive part, they have asked questions like how globalization has benefited the Indian economy. Investment in the social infrastructure is prerequisite for the inclusive growth, right? So now I think you are able to get my point, which I told you, that you have to prepare the ESI static also if you have to answer such kind of questions, right? Otherwise, you will not be able to answer these questions in phase 2 paper, right? So if I categorically have to talk about how you have to prepare, then the ESI and ARD for both the phase 1 and phase 2. Then how you have to do is that pick up a syllabus topic, right? So say you have picked up the globalization, right? Or say any agriculture related topic, say you have picked up the forestry. Then what you have to do is you have to first of all see the topics which have been mentioned in the syllabus. The syllabus for the ESI and ARD, it is very, very detailed. So see what all are the topics which have been mentioned there, right? So the post-harvest management is mentioned in the syllabus for the forestry, right? Sorry, it is there in the fisheries. So all the topics which have been mentioned, you have to list them down, study them, right? But don't limit yourself to just studying them. Be a bit more analytical. The benefits, the initiatives, the challenges of each and every topic should be known to you, or any other facet which is attached to that topic is something you should be aware of, right? And this is the same thing which you have to do for the schemes also, right? So that is how you are going to do an integrated preparation for both the phase 1 and phase 2 of ESI and ARD, right? Now coming to the very, very important part, how you are going to do the descriptive answer writing, right? So students, first of all, any good answer, it is going to have two things, the structure and the content, right? So what is the structure? You have to have an introduction, you have to have a body, and you have to have a conclusion if you want to provide a good structure to your question. And the second thing which you need to have, it is the content, a good content. What all you have to do to make sure that your content is good? You should be knowing the definitions, the current developments, the reports, the schemes, examples, reforms, and the challenges of each topic, right? So these are the facets, not limited to the points I have mentioned. There can be additional things also, like the benefits and all these things, but this is how you have to prepare the fodder material for each and every topic. Once that fodder material is prepared, then you can go for the answer writing practice, right? So that is how you are going to do the descriptive answer writing also. Now if I talk about the paper descriptive English, so in the descriptive English, basically you get 90 minutes to do 3 questions, and these 3 questions, they are asked from essay, précis, or then we have reading comprehension, letter writing, report writing. So these are the topics which are mentioned in your descriptive English syllabus. And students, if you see that the topics which are being asked here, manufacturing sector, education, better mode of transport for the agriculture products, effects of climate change on the biodiversity. So these are the topics you are going to study in your ARD and ESI also, but it's just that the kind of structure you are going to use here, there you are writing an answer and here you will be writing an essay. So the kind of structure you are going to use, that changes, but otherwise most of the things remain same as far as as far as the essay part is concerned in the descriptive English, right? So these are the topics you have to prepare, and most of the things like the report writing or the précis writing, for them you first have to know what are the technicalities, how you have to write, whether the title needs to be included or not, what is going to be the word limit, how to stick to the word limit, can we cross it or not. So all these technicalities are something you should be aware of. After that, all you require is the practice. So that is how you are going to prepare your descriptive English part, right? And practice writing at least 5 each, right? 5 essay, 5 précis, and 5 reading comprehension, 5 letters and 5 reports. So practice a lot as far as the descriptive answer writing practice is concerned, because answer writing is an art. It is going, like, the more you practice, the more refined it is going to be. So that is how you have to prepare for the descriptive English part. Now students, we have discussed the both the papers of the phase 4 also. So students, although this was a long video, but I think with this, the entire discussion that we have done so far, this was something which must have made you a pro. And if not a pro, at least now you are no longer a beginner as far as the NABARD preparation is concerned, because a lot of things have been told to you. You have gained a lot of knowledge, a lot of insights as far as your preparation for NABARD Grade A is concerned. How you have to do, what are the sources, what is going to be the strategy, each and everything has been told to you here. So further, if you are going to do the self-study, we are going to help you a lot through our YouTube videos also. But students, if you need any assistant, any mentorship, any course, then we have 2 courses, the gold course and the silver course for the NABARD. You can see them, you can go through the trial videos which are available here in these courses, and then you can take the decision accordingly. And till now, I think this video was helpful to you. If so, please do subscribe to our YouTube channel and do join our Telegram channel also to get the PDF of this session. With this note, I take a leave from you and I wish you all the very best for your upcoming exams.